inshallah.
So evidence is really important for this topic, isn't
Yes,
it?
definitely. Maybe we should begin from the report, which Aisha was 9 when she married the Prophet.
Is that because that's commonly used?
It's commonly because it's the only report.
The only report.
Which says that she was 9. And everything is based on this. But people who base things on this, they don't look at other historical evidence and other reports as well, other sahih hadiths, which appear in Bukhari, Muslim, all of them as well. They just ignore them for some reason. And in this report, this is a mawquf hadith. Mawquf hadith means the sanad, the chain of narrators doesn't go all the way back to the Prophet. It goes back to a sahabi, a companion. In this case, it's Aisha radiallahu anha herself.
Right.
So in this hadith, in this report, she says that the marriage contract was made at the age of 6. And the marriage consummated at the age of 9 or 10, according to some reports. And there are a number of issues with this narration, to be honest, if it was taken literally, especially from a historical perspective, because when we look at the history, there's a really serious contradiction there.
As in it doesn't add up with certain events?
Yes, it just doesn't add up. Right. Because we know that the noble Prophet ﷺ was the most noble, decent, humble, honest man in history. There's no doubt about that. That is why, it feels bad when people start attacking him without knowing the history. So maybe we should analyze this with historical, factual evidence. I think we'll begin from what Aisha said first.
Okay. So this is that hadith that you mentioned.
Yeah, what does she mean? First, we'll have a look at that. Maybe I'll give you an example with the reference as well.
Okay.
There is a historian called Musa Jarullah. He has a book called Hatun. In the page 81 of this book, according to Arab customs, he says, when girls reach the age of puberty, when their menstrual cycle started, they would have this ceremony in Mecca. It was called Muhayyis ceremony. And after that, it means they entered into adolescence. And they used to be considered as a woman after that. And many of the Arab women, especially the noble ones amongst the nobility, they used to start counting their age after that time, after the ceremony.
Right. So not at birth, not at birth.
They would start counting. I'm a woman now, I start counting my age now. Okay. And if we look at Aisha's, narration where she says, I was 9 when I married the Prophet, we need to add, the time before when she began her menstrual cycle, so age of puberty.
Yeah.
And that makes her roughly about 17, 18, if you add that on top. Now, some people might say this is, very speculative. That is why I want to use some, very powerful evidence to support this. I think it's very important to use those evidence.
Evidence that she would have been about 18?
Yes.
So this means that so she said she was 9 when she got married. So this suggests that she reached puberty at 9.
Around 9.
Female, and then plus 9, so she was 18.
Yes.
And so you're now going to look at historical evidence that supports that she would have been about 18, actually.
Yeah. Can we really prove this? There are very strong evidences to prove it. Like one example I'll give you, and I can say that this is not an apologetic argument. It is based on historical facts. Actually, if we look at, for example, a book by Maulana Shibli, he lived in the 1800s. The book is called AISYAH RA. He was a very famous historian. And in his book, he clearly says that when Aisha married the Prophet, she was 18. Very clearly says it in his book. People can refer to this book. It's AISYAH RA, volume 2, page 9. That's a very important book because he's a very famous historian. There is another book called Hatemul Enbiya, Prophet Muhammad. It was written by Hikmet Berki, and he states that historical records show that Asma, who is the older sister of Aisha, she died in the 73rd year of Hijrah. after Hijrah, after the migration, at the age of 100. Asma died at the age of 100.
Right.
That was the 73rd year of Hijrah in Medina.
Yes.
This means that when Asma migrated to Medina, she was 27. At the age of 27. Many other historical records show that she was about 27 when she migrated. And we know by historical facts that Asma was 10 years older than Aisha. And we have many sources for this, 10 years
10-year gap between them.
Between her younger sister. And that means that when Aisha migrated to Medina, she was 17. And we know by fact that she married the Prophet after they migrated.
They did. They consummated the marriage after.
Exactly. And some say about 6 months after.
Yeah.
So that would make her either 17 or 18 because she migrated at the age of 17. The stronger view is she was about 18 when she married the Prophet. Now, fourth historical evidence I can give here, but the previous one, people can also refer to this book as well. It is called Hatemül Enbiya by Hikmet Böki, page 210.
Okay.
So they can refer to that as well.
Go read it if you like, yeah.
Yes. Fourth historical evidence here is initial years. This is very interesting. So if we take Aisha's narration, only that one, as a benchmark, she would not have been born at that year. It was impossible.
Okay, so if we say she consummated the marriage at 9, she could not have been born because it's not possible because Islam was 12 years afterwards they migrated.
Yes. Yeah.
So that wouldn't suggest that she was born 3 years after the first revelation.
4 years, actually.
Or 3 to 4 years. Okay,
because
4 years.
If you calculate it, it's 614. It turns out that she was born in 614, which is not possible because she is considered a Sabiqun Awwalin amongst the people who are in the first 3 years. So that mathematically, it does not compute. That's another thing.
So she would have had to be old enough to even accept Islam?
Of course. And if we look at the historical facts, it seems like she was born in 605, making her at least 5 at the beginning of Revelation and 17 during the migration. Again, if you look at all these different historical facts, it always turns out to be like she was 17 when she migrated to Medina. This means she married the Prophet at least at the age of 17 or 18. Wow. So we have no doubts about that from a historical perspective, we can say. But as I said, there are many other evidences which I gathered here. The reason I took notes, as I said, I want people to go and have a look at the references if they wish. So we are talking, academically. We're not just making speculations here.
Yes.
There is another very powerful source, which all Muslims, Ahl Sunnat wal Jamaat, will agree with, because they consider this person as a very powerful hadith imam, who is Imam Nawawi.
Yeah.
And in his book, Tahzibul Asma, volume 2, page 597. And there's another hadith which supports this as well. It is in Hakim Mustadrak, volume 3, 635. It is stated that Asma was born 595, in the year 595, Asma.
Okay, 595 years.
So she's the older sister.
She's older, and there's 10-year gap.
There's 10-year gap. And she embraced Islam at the age of 15, Asma, because this hadith is about, this report is about Asma. And since Aisha is 10 years younger, that puts her being born in 605 again.
605. So
595, 605. And again, this makes her 17 during Hijrah. During the migration.
So both of those suggest that she was born around 605, Aisha radiallahu anha.
Yes.
Based on these calculations.
Yeah. And these are sahih. And they are reported by Imam Nabawi and also in Hakim Mustadrak. These are historical facts. So we have so many factual evidence, historical evidence against just one narration. But for some reason, people hold on to that narration. I think that's because of that Islamophobic, thing.